Hey Bible lovers, I'm Tim Nichols, and I'm here to bring you your Nichols Worth. And today from Holman, we have the KJV Study Bible. Now, first, before we dive into this, we have to understand there are several different iterations or types of the KJV Study Bible because the translation is in the public domain. We have one from Thomas Nelson called the KJV Study Bible. That one matches more of the current Evangelical Study Bible. It's not a perfect match, but it's done by, it seems, the same team of editors with Liberty University. We also have the KJV Study Bible from Christian Art Gifts, which is basically a repeat of the Reformation Heritage Study Bible. And then we have the KJV Study Bible from Holman. I'm sure there are others. I know Arbor Publishers has their own version of the KJV Study Bible that I know very little about. But then we have this one from Holman. So what exactly is this? First of all, this is a large print edition. So we're going to show you what that means. But first, let's go ahead and get rid of this slipcover. The slipcover does have some pertinent information on the back of it, but you can see this is kind of a charcoal cloth overboard. So on the back, this kind of lets you know some of the things that are going on in this study Bible. First of all, it's an 11.5 point font. And I am going to say it looks much larger than an 11.5 point font. But let's just go ahead and go over what this is. First of all, you're going to see here pretty much every study Bible that Holman has ever put out in every translation. The NKJV is no longer in print. Obviously, the HCSB is no longer in print, so therefore that study Bible will no longer be in print. And then these are the more premium options, but they also come in more hardback and more economic versions as well in the CSB and the KJV Study Bible. So first of all, I'm going to show you one key difference between the CSB and the KJV Study Bible. And that is, at times, there's going to be a word focus. For example, right here. So it'll have a Hebrew or a Greek, depending on which testament you're in, word focus, and it'll give you the Hebrew word, it'll give you the definition, and it'll break it down. That's really nice. This is not present in the KJV Study Bible. But the commentary are all pretty much the same. They changed the words around a little bit here and there just to match the translation. That's also going to be the case in the NKJV Study Bible and the HCSB. The only reason I pull these into the equation is because if you already have these, you're not really going to be getting new material with this KJV Study Bible. This is the pure Cambridge KJV, not the Oxford, so that may be something that's interesting to you. It does come with two 1/8 inch double-sided satin ribbons. Not bad for a Bible in this price range. Also, the spine, you can see, pretty basic, but still gives you the pertinent information. One thing I like about this that I don't like about their leather editions is that it doesn't tell you what it is. As far as you know, this is just a regular King James Bible. You can't tell that this is actually the King James Study Bible, the same as this. But there are some differences, and I'll show you what they are. Really, there's only one primary difference, other than the fact that this is premium. That is that this, kaboom, look at that print size in comparison to this. 11.5, this is a 9-point font, so this is 2.5 points larger than this one. Otherwise, it's looking pretty much the same. You're going to have your outside column references. You're going to have your commentary on the bottom. With the KJV, they don't tend to have the textual footnotes like they do in the CSB edition. The CSB edition will have your references in the middle, have your textual footnotes in the bottom. They don't tend to have that in the KJV, but it's still nice to have this beautiful large print. And look at that bold print on here. That is laid out by 2K Denmark. It's a gorgeous Bible Serif font, which is exclusive to Holman, aka Lifeway. And then you have what appears to be about a 10-point font. It seems I read somewhere that this font in the bottom is a 10-point. It definitely looks as large as this, which is a 9, but actually looks a little slightly larger. So I'm going to say that's a 10-point font, 11.5. Now, all the commentary is going to be identical in all of these, other than a few little word changes to kind of match the translation. So you're going to see some differences here and there, but the guts of all four of these are the same. So if you have any of these, you're going to have the same commentary. It's just if you prefer the King James, this is going to be reworded a little bit to sort of match the King James. So beautiful font. This is going to have the same illustrations, the same charts, the same maps. All of that is virtually identical. The only difference is the CSB does have that extra word study, which I think is really cool. For example, go into Exodus 28. You're going to see a priest, full page, and you're going to see this in all the editions, in his robe. So all the same artwork that you're used to in all the editions, I have checked, they are all pretty well identical with their artwork. Even, for example, this drawing of the tabernacle in the wilderness. All of this is going to match. You're going to have pretty much the same book introductions, the same timelines. All of this stuff is relatively identical. When you get to the poetic settings, you can see that in the King James, generally you don't have your poetic settings like you will in some of your more modern translations. For example, in the CSB, you're going to see that very obvious poetic layout. That's one thing I like about the modern translations. I wish they would adapt with the King James, but with the King James, in most publishers, you're going to get that standard verse by verse, justified text, and you can't really tell the difference between the poetry and the prose, or the poetry and the story, or whatever you'd like to call it. So when you get to the New Testament, you are going to see the words of Christ are in red, and it's going to be the same with the KJV Study Bible, even in the premium edition. So you're not going to see a big difference as far as the darkness there. It's going to be pretty similar. Even the CSB is also in that red letter, so very nice. As we get past the commentary and get to the end of the book of Revelation, you're going to see some of the same features that you see in your Holman Study Bibles. And that is, after your last amen, you're going to see some charts, tables of weights and measures. You're going to see, now this is really nice. In the King James, you're going to see a King's English glossary. So these are those archaic words that are difficult for us to understand. It's going to give definition to those. This is a very nice feature for that King James Study Bible. And obviously, this is only going to be in the King James because you don't need it for the CSB. But once you get past the King's glossary, you're going to move into what's called the table or the concordance. This is obviously going to be different than your CSB concordance that you're used to in the Study Bible there. It's going to be worded or keyed to the King James, but it's still nice to have this little table in the back. And then, of course, at the end, you're going to have your beautiful Holman maps on that flat Bible paper. Now, let me tell you a little bit about this Study Bible. As with any Study Bible that is geared toward a translation, this is essentially the CSB Study Bible kind of retuned to the KJV. It is going to have the theological slant, not necessarily bias, but a theological slant toward whoever puts it together. Holman is owned by the Southern Baptist Convention, and this is going to have some of those Southern Baptist leanings. You're going to see that here and there, especially in the areas of women in ministry. It's going to kind of lean that direction. Now, one thing I really appreciate about this is they go through great lengths to present as much balance as possible in many of the key positions, but they do give preferences here and there. For example, they seem to lean toward a rapture of the church. So they seem to lean toward a dispensational view in some of those interpretations. Also, when it comes to the gifts of the Spirit, they seem to lean especially toward tongues being more of a natural phenomenon and prophecy being more of a preaching phenomenon rather than a predicting of the future or speaking a word over somebody. So those biases are going to be present in here, but they're really well handled. I'm a Pentecostal, and I read through this commentary, and I benefit greatly from it. But just know, whatever particular publisher that you are getting your study Bible from, it is going to have a lean, and you need to know that going in. God bless you. Keep calm. Jesus on. This is your Nicholsworth.